Hey there. Before we start this one, let's take some deep breaths. Call all your energy back from any experiences, worries, doubts, fears that you've had that they may be tangled in. Let all of that go. Ground yourself. You can do this by imagining cords going down to the center of the earth and tying around something down there. Or just rooting in. Open to spirit. Letting light enter through your crown chakra. You don't have to call it a chakra. Just through the top of your head. Filling your body. Okay. So, I enjoy watching pick-a-cards, and I started watching pick-a-card readings 2 to 3 years ago, something like that. And at the time, pick-a-card readings helped me process pain of a breakup and also helped me clear immense amounts of karma that I had with a specific person who's incarnated at this time, who I knew on a soul level, and whose brief interactions with me catalyzed me into realizing the karma. You know, the energy was activated through our being in proximity to each other. Then I had to go process it by myself, and pick-a-card readings helped me do that a lot. And over time of clearing karmic patterns and shadow aspects of myself, integrating shadow aspects of myself, I've gained wisdom and awareness has expanded. And honestly, I really couldn't have done it without the reflections that I receive of some of those readings. But I did come to a point where I realized that some readings are offering a lower view than others, right? And I really started using a lot more discernment in which readings I would indulge in. And I realized also that readings could be used in a codependent way where you relied on something outside of yourself to guide you or reassure you. And I did that for a short time before I realized that shadow in myself and was able to clear that. And I think that my use of pick-a-card readings has evolved over time. So when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to discount any reading that any reader is doing, because I think they all serve a purpose, whether it be for the reader or the watchers. I think they're so valuable, and I just am in such gratitude for any reader that I've consumed, whether it was a lesson in something I do want or don't want, or they shared some profound wisdom, or they clarified something or confirmed something or reassured me or just comforted me at a time of need. Whatever it was, valuable. 100%. So lately, though, I have realized that I'm much more picky with which readings I'll watch and which readers I'll resonate with. And that's fine. It doesn't mean anything about any reader that I don't resonate with any longer. It just means that we've grown in different directions or whatever, right? And also that I've become more sovereign, that I'm more apt to rely on myself and my own inner knowings and prompts and realizations. And also I have a life coach that I work with now, and that of course helps, because then I have a personal one-on-one person to reflect with. So lately, though, I kind of do it as my hobby still. I still like to indulge in some pick-a-card readings, and sometimes it depends on my mood. I would watch one that I know is more just like a juicy soap opera, right? And that's okay. Like, I'm allowed to do that. Um, but other times I'm just like, I'm serious about what I'm doing and my own progression and growth, and I can't be bothered with some of those, dramas that are presented in some of those lower densities. So depends on where I'm at, what perspective I'm looking at, what fragment I'm in of my own self for processing. But lately I've been looking at a list of pick a card, so I just search pick a card. And the ones that come up are predominantly like what he thinks of you, what they think of you, what's the gossip about you. And I'm just like, whenever I read the title, there's automatically a voice in my head that goes, who gives a fuck? Fuck them. It's not my business, And then I try to comfort that part of myself and say, listen, this is very helpful to some people. There's no need to hold a grudge against those views, but there's a part of me that's just kind of over that, I will say that there have been times where it has been, and I could even see now at times there might be a beneficial time to look at how somebody else sees you or how a group of people sees you, because it's good to kind of keep yourself grounded, especially if you don't interact with a lot of people, It's like, okay, well, you can understand if somebody sees you clearly or not, or if you see yourself the way that they see you, or what the discrepancies are, or what kind of shadow you're showing that you're not aware of. All kinds of great things can come from looking at those energies, so I'm not knocking it. But when I was looking at the list of offerings, I decided I wanted to do a reading about what do you think of you? Instead of what do they think of you, let's do what do you think of you. And so this reading's we're going to look at what you think of you on a conscious level, what you think of you on a subconscious level, and then maybe something like what you think of you on a soul level. Okay, so let's look. I might adapt it as I go in certain piles, or I might keep that rigid way of looking, but I'm going to pull cards for each of those views. So consciously, it's what you're aware of, what you think of yourself in your awareness, like what stories you tell yourself about yourself and that you're aware of. Subconsciously, it's like you're not aware of the fact that you feel or think this about yourself, meaning it's in your shadow or right below the level of awareness. So it may come to your awareness, and if it does, it would be the time for that to happen, right? This is meant to be a helpful reading. So when we become aware of something that we might be thinking, it can be helpful to become aware of it at that time. And then on a soul level, we're looking at what you think of you on a soul level. It can help you kind of see where your soul is, headed, where your soul feels you are in respect to where you're headed, kind of thing. Loosely, generally. I'm not sure how accurate or deep I can get into that topic, so I'm just going to, experiment with it a bit. And remember, this is just information to reflect on. It's a general reading, so only take what resonates as true for you. Okay, and there's going to be 3 picks. So let's... And then are going to be these 3 picks, and it's going to be pick 1, the jade, pick 2, the shungite, or pick 3, the amethyst. So pause if you need more time. Use your own intuition to decide if one or more of these has valuable information for you to reflect on. And actually, I'm not going to shuffle on deck. I have all my cards next to me, and I'm just going to kind of... what I normally do is chill out, maybe watch something that I enjoy on YouTube while I deal out the cards for your pile. And I'll keep in mind what I'm doing as I do it, and then I'll pop back here, and then we'll do the reading. And I don't look at the cards before I do the reading. It's just that I feel like it's very time consuming, and I know that some people do enjoy seeing the cards come out live, and there is a benefit to that, but I I'm not valuing it for the purposes of this reading. I'm just doing this to my own comfort level as well, which is that I like kind of taking my conscious mind off the whole shuffle process as I do it. But I have, as you saw, just meditated, cleared my energy, and expanded out my energy to include the general collective that chooses each of these piles so that I can offer you something valuable. Okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so one thing about this reading is keep in mind that this isn't going to cover everything about you, right? About what you're thinking. It's just going to look at the things that are most relevant or pertinent or active in your energy at this time, okay? So with that said, let's get started with pick number 1. Okay, pick number 1. What are you consciously thinking about yourself? Consciously thinking about yourself. You respect tradition. You feel like you've worked very hard and you've accomplished a lot. You're a very competent person. You are someone who, I want to say, values the sanctity of marriage, things like that. The commitments you make are very important to you. You are wise and knowing and nurturing and fertile and willing to invest in yourself and others. And I think there maybe have been relationships that you invested a lot in that ended up hurting you, breaking your heart in some way, or where there were like third-party interferences, something where for a time could have even distracted you from what was important to you and what your value is and worth is. And maybe you even had to leave a couple people behind specifically because they did not value the same things you did. They did not act in ways that showed that they valued you, recognized your worth, or valued the same things as you in a way that allowed you to relate fairly or healthily. I think you might even be an example to others of what high standards are and what you can achieve for yourself when you invest in yourself. And I think you would qualify as like a well-rounded person who considers all aspects of life, the heart, the mind, the soul. Values your connection to spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Maybe hold yourself as royalty, have been royalty in other lifetimes. You may like to wear adornments. You think that this is something that helps you express who you are. I just have to remember like what these cards were meaning as I was doing them. I think that you are a person who has stepped out of the lower realm of relating dynamics or the lower realm of like coping dynamics or things like that. It's like, because we have courage coming out and your conscious mind of what you think about yourself. And I think you know that it took courage to leave behind some of the things that weren't up to your standard. I think that you don't hold pride as a priority. Because if you look on the emotional vibrational scale, you have like pride and then courage and then you're like free of that. So you are at least willing to let go of any of those lower density ways of coping or relating in life. When it comes to relating, you are willing to be in an observer mode where you kind of take in the whole picture of something. And also you're not taking things personal, and also you're not trying to put your will onto somebody else. Like, you're not having expectations of others. You're very mature, attached, and not attached in your way of interacting with other people. So it's like you may have your standard for yourself and know your worth, but if somebody else doesn't, it's okay. Like, you're not taking it personal. You're not trying to change them. You're not using any tactics of seduction or any of those lower density ways of relating. Like, you really trust the universe. And it may have taken a lot of loss in order for you to get here. And leaving behind things that weren't up to that standard was part of the process of getting to where you are, and being stable in the foundation you've built and been able to stand securely on. Something that you would feel assertive in is seeing the good in others, seeing yourself in others, seeing others as you would see yourself, meaning with a lot of compassion, with understanding. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't step out and leave behind someone who was abusing the understanding, right? Like, or like trying to take advantage of the fact that you would understand them, but like, you do understand them. Like, that is part of who you are. You don't push away things as if you're judging them. You're willing to observe something that exists and not try to like say that you're above it in a way. It's like you would honor it and know that you can decide or discern whether or not you participate in it. And you are willing to leave behind anything that doesn't amount to your standard. I think your standards and values are important to you. I think you also value a playful approach. I think you think that you're playful, that you're funny, that you can be lighthearted, even though it took a lot of serious work to get to where you are. I think you maintained a part of you that it's like you nurtured your inner child to the degree that your inner child is active and ready to play in the playground that you created for it. You're not dependent on others. I think you think that you're just like a curious cat, like that you can stand on your own 2 feet and that you'll go where your curiosity takes you, and that you're not like looking to get others to join you in your adventures, or like you don't need them to think of you a certain way. And when you need something, you'll, assert yourself in a way that allows you to get it. I think that even though you are very playful, I think you see yourself as somebody who can also lead and organize. Maybe networking is really something you're good at, where you can see the pieces, how things work together, or how certain people would get along or help each other or serve each other. I think you feel very adept and very good at organizing, and this could even be organizing fun events like charity events or community events, party meetings, classes, organizing an area of expertise within getting it ready for people to digest in a very easy way. I think you know that you think that you're very wise and lovable, that you deserve your own unconditional love, that mistakes are for learning. Yeah. You're willing to like step out of your comfort zone. I think you know that that courage allows you to step out of your comfort zone, because the worst that's going to happen is you're going to learn something. This like curious nature allows you to be that. It's like, this is the life you have. You're here to live it. I think on a very conscious level, that's what you think. This is how you relate to one part of your life. Let me think of how this means. How you relate to this part of your life. I'm just gonna grab another card. Oh. I think maybe that people with lower level of consciousness than you might not keep them close. You might those standards might actually keep you apart from people who don't have the same level of awareness that you have. It's not saying if that's good or bad or anything, but that is something that's here. It's like, while we were really painting that as something that's beneficial and good, and that you're able to walk away from that lower density way of relating, it's also saying like, even in the case of like, if it's a family member or a good friend, you might walk away if they don't hold that level of consciousness. Yeah. Okay. So you think that that's the appropriate and good way to navigate this experience that you're having. You know, I get it, because like, I've heard it said, and it resonated as truth for me at some point. It's like, we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And if that's true, it makes sense that if somebody isn't like growth oriented like you, moving forward, having courage to step out of patterns that are no longer serving them, that you would want to surround yourself with people like that, because they wouldn't support you in stepping forward and achieving your goals and stepping out of those comfort zones. People like that tend to be more fearful, and they withdraw their support if you kind of challenge the status quo that they're used to, because then you become an example of something that might be uncomfortable if they don't have the courage to go where you've gone. So you've probably had to, we did see that in the 5 of Cups that came out, you've probably had to leave behind relationships that you really, really valued, really loved. What was I going to say about this? Oh yeah, so you're very responsible, you have high integrity. You would never lie or steal, right? Like, your values include doing what you feel is right and fair, and you won't go against that. You think that you are a person of high integrity who has values that you feel comfortable with. And I think you know about shadow work. You do it, you work on it. You know that you are only strengthening yourself by looking at the places where you may have had weaknesses. And I think you may be, these cards are meant to tell us something that you're working on now. You may be wanting to line up with people who are more like you, are at the level of awareness that you held. On a conscious level, you actually think about wanting that. Okay. Now let's see about your subconscious. If that rings true for you, then there should be something here in the subconscious pile that is also helpful. Ace of Cups. The subconscious level. Five of Cups in the subconscious as well. I gotta see what the light says about this card. Six of Cups. Six of Cups. Nostalgic about the past. So some of those people you've had to let go of, there still could be something about that in your subconscious. Something that you want to deal with right away. The subconscious part of you still feels maybe hurt over the past situations where people didn't meet you or didn't support you or tried to tear you down, where they took it personal when you had a different goal than they did, or a different focus or aim or priorities, or that you grew apart. I think there's a part of you that is really still emotionally affected by the pain of the loss of people who turned against you because of your desire for growth, learning, advancement, forward movement. Yeah, it's really a part of you has a broken heart over some of those losses, like how sour it turned and how much it hurt to leave behind certain people that just wouldn't get on board with the mission, you know? It's like they could have come too, but certain decisions are made along the way in certain people's lives. They take different paths. And it's like that song that says, like, you take the high road, I'll take the low road, comes to mind. And it's like that. It's like I have tears coming to the back of my eyes as I say this, because I can feel like it is really sad, right? To know that you're parting ways at a crossroads with someone that you care so immensely about, because you know they're taking the low road. And you know the low road is haunted, you know? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Subconscious. You're not willing to hold on to it, right? Like, you're not willing to say, I must save them, I must do this, I must focus on that, you know? I think that you could have had a tendency to want to, like, rescue them, focus on it, get them to come. Like, there might have felt like a big emergency, right? Like these, you got to make them see, you got, you know, kind of feelings. And then when they went anyway on the lower road, I think maybe, like, it took a little bit of your magic, because I think before that you really believed in these limitless possibilities and all things being beautiful and orchestrated divinely. And I think that's still true, but I think that maybe the part of you that is still hurt is in the feeling of, like, it can't be true, because these people I love, I had to watch them go in this other direction where they'll suffer, you know, where they suffer for longer. And that was painful. I think you're willing to reflect on it and be present with those feelings that you have, even in your subconscious. You've practiced it so much through your consciousness that it's also now part of your subconscious, that you, and even in your subconscious, you think these are just things for me to reflect on. These are just things for me to be present with. While your subconscious is feeling like this hurts, your subconscious also understands that anything that you see outside of you is reflecting back to you something. Okay, so if you're seeing like that you feel something about people taking their own path, which is separate from yours, that you perceive as suffering, like what is that saying about you, and what do you need to be present with within you? Like maybe you need to be present with a fear in you that fears that God doesn't have their back, that they've gone off track, that they're, I just heard, gonna die. You know, like maybe some people have died who took the different path, and it's like on your subconscious level there's one part of you that feels like that's the worst thing that could possibly happen. I'll point out that from a soul level, you know, you're still going to be energetically connected to any soulmates that existed within this lifetime. But on a subconscious level, the part of you that had a certain experience has held on to a pain about the whole loss. And I don't think that you, on a subconscious level, feel like there's anything that you can do about it, or that you could help the situation. On a subconscious level, you may even start to see these people as not your friends, because they didn't respect you or see your worth or ask you for help when you had the wisdom that they could have used. Oh yeah. On a subconscious level, you think, these people could have just looked at what I was doing, asked me for help. If we were friends, they would have trusted me to show them an out from their own suffering, and they didn't. So they didn't respect me. Like this part of you taking something personal there. And maybe it's like tied into the loss itself, like on why that pain is kind of little like stuck there within your subconscious. Your subconscious wants to be honored. Your subconscious wants to be honored. So when your so-called friends or loved ones don't honor your process and what you're going through by recognizing it, by recognizing your worth and what you've done and what you've figured out and the strength you have, that is probably something that is bothersome to a part of you in your subconscious, that you're not, that's right below the level of awareness. But I will say, as I was shuffling these cards, a bunch from the subconscious pile flipped over into the conscious pile. And I just saw that as like awareness is always coming to you. You're always becoming aware, more and more aware. So you may already even be aware of this as I'm saying it, and know that it's only in your subconscious because you haven't fully resolved it yet, but you may be in process of it, I would say. Honoring your process. You're honoring the process of that. Like having to part ways, being disappointed by not being honored, being disappointed by having to watch others suffer, being disappointed by having to part ways with people you love. Things like that are kind of all there, ready to be processed from your subconscious through the strength that you have in consciousness. And so I think you feel, boxed in. Subconsciously, you feel boxed in by this lodged in energy that is in the process of being processed. It's like, that's why you're processing it, because it feels like a restriction. It feels like, oh, I'm not quite free on this topic yet. Oh, on a subconscious level, you think that you are pure-hearted. Yeah. I think that you know that your intentions are good. You know that your intention has always been love, good, fair. You know? Like, it is a pure-hearted, you are pure-hearted. And you even think that on a subconscious level. Like, you're not fooling yourself if you think that on a conscious level, because it's through and through you. I think you want to give to people on a subconscious level. We got the fun in your subconscious level. It's donate, and with the pure heart. So I think when you give, you don't give with expectations. No one needs to reciprocate. No one needs to appreciate. No one needs to recognize. When you give from a pure heart, which is your own filled up cup, and knowing that this is my extra and I have it to give. And there's nothing about it that is like needy, guilty. Like, there's nothing but pure heart, love, initiating that for you. Wow, really beautiful. In your subconscious, you know that even though you're really good at organizing, in your subconscious, you don't you want to be more free than that. So maybe in your conscious level, you're doing it as, it could be as a coping mechanism, that you're doing all of the planning and organizing, because on a subconscious level, strategizing a way to do things is not something you enjoy. You would rather be free in the moment. So you can kind of sort that how it resonates for you. Like, is that something that you'd want to adjust and grow through, or is that something you want to embrace it as it is? You know, depending on how it's working for you in your life, you can decide that. Because, of course, sometimes strategy is really important. And even though there's a subconscious part of you that kind of rejects it, it doesn't mean that you don't need it. If your conscious mind is doing it, okay. But, like, you might want to tend to this part of yourself that kind of rejects it, and that just wants to fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing, you know? Like what part of you is that? Is that pure-hearted part of you? You know, is that part of you that doesn't want to invest in people that you might have to be broken away from again, you know? All right, that's just a thought that came, but let's see what else. I asked, how are you dealing with a certain part of your life? And the part of your life we're looking at is the romantic partner. And how you're dealing with it is mystery, hiding, secrets, detective. I think you're subconsciously, you think that you're very curious and that you want a good mystery. You want to unfold a mystery of the romantic partner, like you're reading a book, like there's something new for you, like it's exciting and nice and like enticing, and On a subconscious level, your romantic partners need to be, you think your romantic partners need to be a mystery to you in a way, right? But at the same time, there needs to be enough for you to discover about them in a incremental manner to keep your attention. Now, this could be a something that works against you if you are meant to build a relationship. There are going to be mundane things in order to create the foundation of that on, right? So everything's not going to be a mystery, and you're not really going to want it to be, especially if you have a fear about investing in something. You want it all spelled out, don't you? So this might be something to look at, the part of you that wants an ever-unfolding mystery within a romantic partner. Might want to be questioned a little bit to see if there are also parts of you that would enjoy reading the book, understanding what you can count on in somebody that you're going to build a relationship with, because it makes sense to kind of not be kept in the dark, but actually have the conversations that might be difficult, to know where you stand and things like that, right? That would seem like the mature thing to do. So maybe this is a subconscious immature part of you that is still in that teenage phase of ooh, I have a crush on him, does he like me, kind of thing, and is there a reason that you're reliving that feeling? Maybe what just came to mind is maybe you didn't get to do that dating thing in high school, and maybe there's a part of you that just never got to unfold it like that, or have that experience of the excitement and innocence of getting to know somebody. Maybe when you were in relationships later on, it was more high stakes because of the age you were, while there's still a part of you that wants to experience it like that fun, free teenager that just flows in the moment, that doesn't have a lot of plan. But that might not go along with who you really are on that conscious level now as the Empress, who is ready to plant something that is more stable and ready to grow from a stable foundation. Okay. In your subconscious, you don't want to work with somebody else. You want to be self-sufficient. You want to be the one who decides what you work on and what skills you improve upon. And there's a part in your subconscious that wants to remain that independent energy that your consciousness thinks of yourself. So that conscious being independent could be a reflection of a shadow that is scared to trust in and invest in relationships with others on a deeper level because of that earlier pain, which you're now going to be processing through, right? Of the loss and what it means, and having to let go, and not being respected fully or seen, the way that you would want to in a real equal relationship. Okay. Subconscious, what is the advice? Hold your vision. Focus on your career with a growth mindset and tend to the foundation. Your career will thrive as you've built that more solid foundation, which happens to be highlighted through your relationships, because that's where the weakness is being shown to you, right? It's that's an immature part of you, which can affect the way that you relate with the world and with your career and people that you interact with there. But you're being given the benefit of relationships, more intimate settings, in order to see the shadow of yourself so that you can adjust it there and bring yourself through the processing and the presence of being with uncomfortable emotions into the growth mindset and the lessons learned and the wisdom gained from having had those experiences. Okay. I know we're pretty deep into this at 45 minutes. It looks like these are going to be just long readings. So I just want to take this like pause to kind of breathe deep and make sure that I haven't missed anything on the subconscious before I go to the soul, okay? And I may pause and kind of take a little like breather and a snack and things like that before I go on. So if it looks like I've paused and come back at any point here, that is literally what I've done. Okay? Okay, the subconscious, hold the vision. Anything more there? By helping yourself repeatedly hold the vision, you eliminate the risk of stepping back into any coping mechanism or box that you made to navigate these more difficult things that you're now uprooting and uncovering. Okay. From a soul level. From a soul level. Pick one. What does your soul think of you? You're very competent, able to make your own decisions. Learning through having to navigate a certain like perspective of limitation. And really getting to work out your mind on the jungle gym of analysis while you cut yourself off from certain intuitive information that you normally or otherwise have access to at times. It's like, right, these more immature parts of you that lay in the subconscious are not really using the intuition to navigate. One moment. Hi, pick one. So, I did pause, had a snack, hydrated. Now back to this soul. What does your soul think of you? And it's like, kind of getting this impression of like, you're being allowed to navigate on a very mundane, like practical, earthy level. And this is for the purpose of like strengthening some of those abilities, which not necessarily in the lower kind of ways of acting, but like in the more grounded practical ways of navigating. So maybe it feels like your intuition's either cut off, or you're not like focused in on it, or you're not getting as much feedback or direction, because you're really, even though you're so strong in your Empress energy, that feminine energy is strong and stable, you're now also being allowed to strengthen your masculine energy, which is the energy that will take action. Okay. All right. What else? And the reason is because you are going to be wanting to take some actions in the world to support and ground something very important that you will be intuitively prompted to. A project. This says $1 million idea or project. It could just be a project. It doesn't have to be $1 million idea unless you feel that that's true with your soul. But like something that is important to your soul, you are kind of preparing for it. Your soul trusts you completely. And it's kind of like you trust your soul soul trusts you. You have a really good connection to your highest self. Yeah. Your highest self has been with you all along. Your highest self loves you. You love your highest self. You've understood that you have this connection. Your highest self thinks you're great. Your highest self loves that you have connected, right? Like your highest self thinks like, isn't it great that you did all that shadow work to clear the way and make room for me to have this great relationship with you where I can just kind of like sit back and watch you for a while do what you know you're inspired to do without having to like, caretake you every step of the way. It's like you're like a co-creator with your highest self. With your highest self stepping back, it's like you are learning to trust yourself to the degree that you would be able to take your leap of faith even without any prompting from your highest self. Like when you trust it. Interesting. It's like you've embodied your highest self to a degree that you're not separate. Your highest self sees you as a creator. And that's what this is pertaining to. The unknown and the leap of faith has to do with what you create. Even without a conscious awareness of how it will turn out, you will know and be prompted towards creating. It says make a vlog, a skit, paint something, or build something, or all of those things will be involved in what your soul thinks that you'll be doing. So maybe you're documenting yourself through a vlog, you're making a skit, you're building something, and you are perhaps painting something, like a picture. Your soul thinks that abundance is your right, and this is abundance in all ways. Love, wealth, friendship, nourishment, resources, relationship, giving, receiving, creativity, freedom. It's like you're getting that foundation really solid, like working through that kind of emotional debris that's left over from the experiences you've had, so that then when you've got that foundation really solid, finishing up that little bit of shadow work still yet to be done with the presence of those emotions that we've talked about, your highest soul will then start stepping in again, because your highest soul doesn't have to walk you through the part that you're doing. You know that what to do. You're doing it. Then your highest self is gonna like pipe up with that realization and that prompting. So it's not that you won't know what you're doing or won't be guided. It's that at this time you already know what you're doing, and when it's time, you will get the realizations you need. Alright, and positive expectations. Your soul, what does this mean? Positive expectations is the part of life that your soul thinks it's a hollow victory. Oh, okay. So this, I believe, pertains to that little bit of shadow. It's like your soul sees that you haven't quite grasped the victory in what you have accomplished because your positive expectations with regards to other people growing with you weren't met. And so it's like, I think your soul knows that it could have gone that way, right? They could have made different choices. And even though you held space for it, you couldn't have done anything different. It feels like a dishonor that they didn't take the path that could have allowed them to travel with you instead of apart from you. So your soul is recognizing that, okay? Your soul is recognizing that on a soul level, between souls, the expectations that the soul had were also not met. Okay? So if you felt that, if you felt like the way it went wasn't exactly how it was supposed to go, yeah, you came in with a high calling, okay? And you came in with mates who wanted to participate in a high calling too. But when it came down to it, and the human aspect of them was burdened in such a way that they were not able to let themselves loose and get free. And it doesn't mean that they never will. It just means that from a soul level, you're right. It could have gone a different way. It went this way. Now, your human has to clean up. Like mop up the mess, the spilled milk, right? And move through it, move on. Because you can do it. You will do it. It's just a disappointment to be processed, right? It's, okay. And what your soul recognizes that you need to work on. Using your wisdom over knowledge and really amping up your gratitude. So I think you do these things, and I think your soul is just saying, like, instead of what you know, use what you've learned. Instead of what someone else knows, use what you've learned. Because for this stage in your life, that's what's important. The wisdom that you've gained through the experiences you've had are the key ingredients, the key pieces of understanding that you need to navigate the thing you came for. So you don't have to worry so much about what other people know at this stage, right? Yes, what other people know can inspire you at times, and it's valuable at times, but at this time, it's more like, let's focus on being grateful for what you have and using your wisdom, because you're like at a very key point in your journey. It's very exciting, right? I'm sure you feel that. I'm sure you know that. And it's very beautiful, and I think that I feel honored to have taken a look at this energy with you. Thank you for existing, for being on this earth at this time. Thank you for carrying the high calling, for answering the call, for taking the steps that are required, for having the courage that you have, for caretaking yourself, and for being this this soul who is so embodied. Yeah. Okay. Pile 1, that completes your reading on what you think of you. So remember, it's just information to reflect on. Only take what is helpful for you. Leave the rest. And I'm going to move on to pick number 2. Hi, pick 2. You chose the Shungite. This is your reading. And as I'm dealing out the cards, I get to the last card I'm going to shuffle out of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 decks. You know, it's a long reading. We went an hour on pick 1. And the cards tip over and squish together and get a little bit mixed up. So there may be some sort of upheaval or tower moment in your life right now, okay? And we're just going to go with it because, as I said, it took a long time for me to shuffle these out. I think I can kind of separate the piles, but there may be... I think it'll work out fine, okay? But I'm just letting you know that I'm taking that as part of the reading, what happened there. Let's see on a conscious level what you think of you. Your Aries, maybe energy, driven, willing to take risks because you do it in like a grounded way. It's like calculated risks, maybe. Maybe you don't like to be stuck about making decisions. You just like to go forward methodically. And maybe you go forward methodically and then when you're faced with a decision, you just jump. Like maybe you think of yourself as a risk taker, a pioneer, a fiery spirit, a rebel. But you might also think of yourself as very grounded and practical, and like maybe that's the way that you implement excitement. You may feel... Well, this gift-giving card came out originally in reverse when I dealt the cards, but now it's upright when I look at it. So maybe it's different for different people, but there's something about your generosity. Okay? You may be very well aware that you don't have a lot to give, like you're pinching your penny. Or you may be a person who is very giving. And very, like, secure enough that you're going to make it back to your even keel, that you'll give what you have. Let's see, I'm just kind of separating these out a little bit. You think you're a person who's willing to look at your shadow, look under the surface of like why you're doing things. You're a person who has good foresight. You know this. You can kind of see where you're going. Even when you're going to take a leap of faith, I think you kind of do it because you can see that it's a means of transportation to the forward place that you want to go to, which makes sense to you. I don't know where you're taking these risks because I don't think it's in business. I think in business you're probably that's where you're kind of slow and steady, and then in other places maybe you've been taking risks. So maybe you don't even know why, and maybe that's why it's been coming to your awareness that you are thinking you need to like look down below the surface of why you're doing things. Okay, probably had a funny face there if I don't edit this out. I was just sneezing. I tried to pause you. Not sure if I got it in time. Yeah, this talks about making a hard choice, emotional detachment, leaving love behind. Maybe that's it. Like, you take the leaps when you feel a little bit like, when it's not business, when you feel a little bit like you could get like stuck there or pulled in emotionally. That's when you're just like, no, we gotta like do something here. Soul ties in reverse, yeah. I think it's relationships and people that you'll leave behind when you need to. When you see it going in a way that will make you and this person like attached to each other in a more intimate way than you are prepared to be. I don't think you want to be tied. This does say satisfied, satiated, a happy family, fed and full. Let's see what else this is. It's like the way you've been handling things, it's predictable to a degree. And when you're ready to use that fire energy to take a leap, I think it's to exit relationships or emotional attachment. I think you know that there's some emotional reason down below the surface of why you don't let yourself have the fulfillment that you want in the area of emotions. I think you feel pretty good otherwise. Like you feel like you have a good coping mechanism in that you don't let yourself get tied down. If someone were to expect of you to be more intimate or more emotionally involved or vulnerable, I think that's when you would be like, And it might be hard for you to leave that person behind because there's probably still a part of you that's like, I think you think there's a part of you that's like, why can't we have that? We want that. And then this other part of you is like, no, that's not an option for us. Get out of Dodge. All right, let's see. Yeah, group date comes out. So, I mean, it's sort of player energy, but it might not manifest that way for you. It might just manifest that you like to spend time in groups. You have a community of people. You have a lot of friends. You have people that you date. You don't necessarily think of yourself as someone who would settle down unless that's like in a way that wouldn't challenge you emotionally, at least at this time. But I think you think that you're being shown things about yourself through the ways that you're relating. Like maybe you're seeing your own patterns. They're becoming very clear to you. You got soul evolution in reverse. I think you may know that you're stagnating. You may know that you've stayed in the same pattern for a long time, that the only risks you take are the risks you take because you have to get out of a situation that you're not willing to risk being in. You might even be telling yourself a story that you're very fulfilled, but it's a very shallow thing. I know this was not... Yeah, okay, this was over here. Yeah, weaving a love story, a family. Maybe there was something in the past where you did feel like you would be vulnerable and you did get yourself tangled in to a meeting of the hearts, and something happened where you decided that was... You got cut off from that. And now it's like you put someone on, a part of you on the lookout tower that says, anytime we think we're going to go in that direction again, let me know, because I will absolutely jump ship. I have my stable work environment to fall back on. Good enough. Okay. Let me see if any of these were meant for that pile. You are really good at seeing, where you're going. But the thing is, you might not allow yourself to see the way where you've been is still being carried along with you as baggage. So what you think of yourself is that you're very sufficient, you're very fulfilled, you're very willing to take risks when needed, but and that you're really competent in your job and having stability, and that there are some things that you're becoming aware of that are showing you that there's something below the surface that you are maybe even living out and manifesting from, that you know that you're not willing to look at it. I think you might even drink alcohol or use some other means of an addiction to suppress or deny it. And you may do this consciously. You may say, well, I am not going to deal with that. I am going to focus here. This seems to be working. I'll just keep doing this. And every time that tries to come to my awareness, or somebody in my reality tries to bring up those kind of things, boop, jumping over here, not going to do that. And I think you're very well aware of this. I think a lot of fantasy goes into trying to fulfill that part of you that you're not willing to let live out in your reality. And I think you know this. You're conscious of using your own, gaslighting yourself in a way. And it may not be so harsh, right? It could be very gentle and only sometimes or something like that. It could be only on one topic, like marriage, or, you know. It could be in every relationship that you're in. Any relationship that threatens to get closer could be subject to you jumping ship. Just sorting out these ones. I think that's gonna go there. Oh, there they are. Okay. It's really interesting how these got jumbled up, but I'm just gonna go with it. So let's look at your subconscious. So you know there's something in your subconscious. And there might be even part of you that wants to click off this reading because you don't want me to bring it up. Because you've done a lot to try to not see it and know it's there, while actively working to deny or suppress it or escape it or run from it. And sometimes you might even react in ways that are like, oh, I keep doing that. I keep scaring people off that want to get close to me, and I feel empty inside, but I won't admit it. Instead, I'm just going to keep up with this way. I'm going to keep running, and you never actually get to look at that fact that that's a coping mechanism, and we might be looking at that in the subconscious. So I'm warning you that it's okay, right? There's no judgment here. You are loved. You are lovable. It's a perfect, beautiful design that you found a way to cope, that you found a way to have an experience and a perspective that's unique to you, that will be valuable to you wherever you're going, wherever your soul is urging you to go, and wherever these experiences are preparing you to go. So on a subconscious level, who are you? Wow, Two of Wands. I mean, you got Two of Wands in the conscious level as well, didn't you? Let's look. You have the Two of Wands reversed on the conscious level, and on the subconscious level, okay. So I'm going to take a drink of water before I say what I'm about to say. Consciously, you may not even be aware that there is something within you that's making that decision to run away. You may see it play out as like, oh, that person doesn't match with me, or oh, that person was too demanding, or oh, that person, it wasn't meant to be. You may not see the thing that you're doing, which is probably being moody, getting angry. It's something where if you have emotions brewing below the surface that you're not willing to acknowledge, they're popping out. Maybe it's like this little like defense mechanism where a monster comes out to scare them away, and then you act like, oh, well, they can't hang. You know what I mean? But on a subconscious level, you're very well aware that it's a decision you've made. You've said, I know how I can keep the upper hand in these situations where people expect me to be more emotionally invested than I want to be. I will be more emotionally charged than they want to handle. I will scare them away. I will be a little harsh. I'll be cold. I'll do what it takes to keep them at bay. I won't invest in them. I will play with their emotions. I'll trick them. And this is all on a subconscious level. So on a conscious level, you just think, oh, I'm just like avoiding, and I'm not really meant to settle down, and, la 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 la. I'm really good at my finances. I'm really good at keeping my job going and making money, and I have plenty of social events, and I'm really a generous person, so everything's fine. I have a happy life on the surface level. So you never look at that it's actually a little scared part of you that's internal, that's a child version of you that said, I'm desperate to not be expected of in an emotional way, and I need to come up with a way for them to not do that with me. But I still need friends, and I still need people to interact with, and for people to think I'm great, or whatever it is. Let's see. Do you really need that consciously? I don't know. You don't necessarily need that. Some of you may, some of you don't. On a subconscious level, there's a passionate part of you that wants to take over. You have it all figured out on your subconscious level. You can see what you're doing. It's a very strategized way of coping that you have chosen to ignore on a conscious level. So who you think you are is somebody very competent, because you are. Who you think you are is somebody very likable, because you are. Who you think you are is somebody very balanced and fair, but you're not, because of the way that you relate is not balanced and fair to an internal part of you, and that's mirrored in the people that you may hurt when you decide to withdraw, lash out at them, be cold, expect or write them off, refuse to see their worth, not to reciprocate. Subconsciously, you use your intellect to bypass a whole bunch of stuff. So your subconscious thinks it's smarter than other people, maybe. Your subconscious thinks it's smart enough to go on like this forever, and to allow your passions, it's like you'll let a passion drive you into a situation, maybe in a relationship or to relate with somebody, but that's it. It's like, I don't think you'll use your intellect then to talk yourself out to either discredit them or not invest in them or decide why you can't go there. You're subconsciously aware that you are doing this, and your conscious level is knows there's something going on, because there's a lot going on, but hasn't let yourself really look it in the eye. Okay? So if this is really uncomfortable, just know I'm going to be as gentle as possible. This is only information to reflect on. That you don't have to stop doing it just because I'm pointing it out. That you can take it little bites at a time, little pieces at a time. That, it's perfectly beautiful and right for you to cope with whatever experiences you've been through and navigate in life however you have been. And that how you have been and the experiences you've had are the ones that you were meant to have, and you were meant to survive them. You were meant to navigate them. And I would venture to say, when we're going to look at your soul, we'll find out what your soul thinks about all this you're going through. So as we go down into the underground of you at this time, bear in mind that after that, we're going to look at the biggest picture view of what this experience means for you, okay? So even though these are very difficult topics to maybe for me to like point out in you, I want to make sure that you know that, you know, some people could call this like an ego death, right? As we're kind of pointing at or shining a light on an egoic coping structure that's been in place to protect you from a certain pain that you weren't prepared to feel at the time that it was lodged in you. You are prepared to feel it now. You are very strong, courageous, steadfast. I mean, look at all the risks you've taken, how the damage and chaos that you've caused and sometimes taking those risks. You've been the one to handle it, clean it up, deal with the consequences of it every time. You're so strong, you're so adept. And you can kind of see where this is going, where if you can bridge the gap between this part of you that wants to invest emotionally and feels like it's part of having a fulfilled life, and the other part of you that's like, at all costs, hell no. If you can bridge these, you know, two parts of you together and get them to see each other's view, right there you're going to create more balance within you. And then when decision time comes, you'll be able to do it from that more balanced, fulfilled, discerning place instead of a reactive place, instead of an unconscious place of, I'm scared to feel something right now, so I have to go. In your subconscious, you think like this is a solid, secure way to navigate because you value being solid and secure. And so why on earth would you invest in something that's risky that you don't have control over? You won't. And that's because of a subconscious reason of using your mind and your intellect to navigate an emotion, a human experience, which is not just of the mind. In fact, the mind, you'll find, as your awareness expands, is a very limited view of life. And it's never going to be fulfilling. Ever, ever, ever. If you went your whole life and never tapped into these emotional levels, when you were able to access them all along, if you just made different choices, you will likely get to the end of your life, look back and feel like you missed out on some aspects that could have been very fulfilling. You know what I mean? You may even be starting to feel that now, if I'm tapping into that, right? The subconscious part of you thinks that things are always going to crumble. If you invest, it's going to crumble. And it also is like, you need to express yourself more. Like what if you just said, hey, I'm kind of scared about going under the surface. I'm not really comfortable there. Instead of running. You don't want to be that vulnerable, but then like, look at why. It's like, there is that giving nature that you have is part of you inherently, but if you give just to get, that's not the most natural use of that energy. That's a low way of using that energy. Leo energy gives because it has what it has extra, but you haven't been filled up. So when you give because it's strategic and you need to secure your place in somebody's life. So you see how one of those could feel different than the other? Well, maybe not if you're not accessing emotions. Why are you scared to feel that emotion? What are you risking if you let yourself feel the feeling of giving just to give? When you did that, how did it hurt? How did you get hurt? Who took advantage of you? Who expected more? Who made you put up a boundary? You know, remember things like this, okay? Subconsciously, you don't let attraction deepen at all. Like, no, no, no. When you smile, subconsciously you think, sometimes fake it till you make it. These are going over there, right? Yeah. Okay. When it comes to assertiveness in your life, even though you have those passions, you won't let them lead. You let your intellect lead you into passionate endeavors. So it's never even pure passion. It's like passion is fire energy, and you're adding intellect, which is air energy. So anytime you're even using passionate energy, you're mixing air in with the fire. So do you see how it reminds me of Icarus energy? It's like Icarus is like that got burnt by the sun energy. It's like be conscious of what you're doing here, because there's earth and there's water. Water is emotions, earth is groundedness. Earth is like, I know the consequences of what I'm about to do. Are you paying attention to that? Are you paying attention to the hearts you're breaking? The bonds you're breaking, the disappointment that you're causing, the amount of imbalanced relating that you'll have to reciprocate in karma. Those grounded topics matter too. And emotions, are you paying attention to the fact that, like, there's a little part of you inside you that is yearning for an emotional experience in life, to have emotions indulged? Your assertiveness and your self-expression is being tampered down by your intellect. Your mind is like overthinking things, over analyzing, and using that nice skill that you have of seeing the future and what's going to happen. You're using it to your own detriment in your subconscious, because you're trying to figure out the outcome instead of just being present with an experience and letting it impress upon you what it is meant to be. Instead, you've strategized your whole situation, so you'll probably be veiled in what you see anyway. You'll only see what you want to see anyway. Someone could come up to you with the most pure, benign, honest energy that would hold your heart like it is gold, and you would see them as somebody manipulative, who you couldn't trust, who was probably going to get a hold of your heart, find out you were invested, and then squeeze for all you were worth, and manipulate you and take advantage of you. And it's like, meanwhile, this person was sent to you by the universe to show you as an example of that it's not like you think. There are people who are pure and who are well-intended and who don't have any intention on hurting you. There are. And look what you do to them. Look what you let yourself do to them when you let your subconscious protective coping mechanism act without consideration for your own emotions or theirs. Okay. Sorry if it feels like I'm being too direct. I feel like you are very direct and you should be able to take it. I'm hoping, right? There may be something in your subconscious that feels like it's time to move. Like you may be in a location or living in a place that's not the best for you at this time. You may need to tap into some of those things. I think that the only thing that you might assert yourself on very easily from a subconscious level is when you're busy. It's like you feel very entitled to say, look, I'm busy. Can't deal with you, I'm busy. Whereas assertiveness could also be, I feel really scared that you're going to hurt me, so I'm not able to invest at this time. Or I'm not sure that you're honest and I can't be bothered to to take a deeper look. Or I really need somebody who's very transparent and who will take their time to prove themselves to me because I have a lack of trust in myself and others. You know, you see how there are other things that you could be assertive with other than this protective way of handling yourself. I think that you do understand your body very well. So if you have aches and pains, maybe you've been reading a book about how those aches and pains correlate to some of the energies you're carrying in your subconscious. So that could be something where if you're not dealing with emotions, that could surface as some sort of like kidney pain or back pain. For different people, it's going to be different things. If it's anger that you haven't processed, that'll be in your liver or kidneys. You could have headaches from overthinking. And these things all correspond to energies that are trying to get your attention within your subconscious. It's energy that says, oh, he won't listen to us through the emotional body. Now we've got to get louder. Let's manifest in the body. And now it's like you may be slowing down to have to deal with some of these issues that are arising in your body. Okay. All right. So let me just kind of bring it down a notch, and I want to attempt to offer a space of soothing for you, and I'm going to just do it energetically. I don't want to do it with words because I feel like you're very susceptible to feeling like people are manipulating you, and I'm not manipulating you, okay? My purpose in this is to offer you a genuine reflection of your own energy back to you about what you're thinking of you so that you can see yourself clearly from different angles that you might not have looked at yourself from or through the filtration of my own wisdom gained through my experiences that I've had and through what I sense intuitively. And through how I understand the way the universe works and how energy works and reading of energy. So there's no judgment here and there's no like, you're wrong, how dare you. There's like this place in me that goes, let's free you. You're so beautiful. And I love a good drama where like the tragedy turns into the hero's journey. You know what I mean? How can you not fall in love with that? And anytime I see where there's struggle, I know that's like a victory waiting to happen. So that's where I'm coming from when I adamantly kind of push on these places and put a light on difficult topics that may not have been looked at purposely by you. You know, it's okay that you do that. And thanks for sticking around to look at this. And if you're like cross-watching and you know that this story is not yours but somebody else's, you know, I hope that you'll also carry that compassion for them as well. And not judgment and not use any of these things to like point out or call out somebody in an uncomfortable way at an inappropriate time. I would use the information if you're cross-watching as a way to navigate delicately, because this isn't a person, you're not going to push this person and then get anywhere with them. This person is smart enough, very smart enough, to redirect themselves. And what you could do is make sure that you have your standards high enough and that your boundaries are high enough that you're not going to be hurt by this person, that you're not invested in or needing from this person, that you're not feeding into any of their like need for whatever they could get from you in an unfair way, and that you just hold the space of knowing that when and if they're supposed to figure it out, that they will. And like that's what you can do. Like, and hold compassion and hold a space of just being an example, the best one that you can be, because you can't go and poke this person out of their hole, and it's not your job to. And if you do feel like you need to do that, that's your own thing to work on. Like, what makes you think you want to do that? Because I used to have that shadow. I used to have the shadow of wanting to poke out people who were coping narcissistically, and I would rip Now, I can see people, right? I can see in. So I would rip the mask off someone who was coping narcissistically, even if I didn't know them well, especially if I didn't know them well. If I met somebody who was coping narcissistically and I did not know them well, meaning they're not going to be in my life continuously, I'd rip it right off. And then I could see their shame come right to the surface. And a part of me thought I was like humbling them, that they would think twice, that I was helping them to see themselves, that I was letting them get in touch with their shame. But like now I kind of think like, what a jerk I was. What a jerk I was. God has this handled. Like I do believe that I do God's work sometimes. Like I do believe that I'm divinely guided in order to act in some ways and help people reflect on some things. But in those moments, I'm pretty sure it was my ego who wanted to lash out at people who had hurt me and not my divine guidance guiding me to do that. You could argue that it was my divine guidance trying to let me act in my ego so I could see my ego. But I did see my ego, and then I rectified my own behavior and did not continue in that manner anymore because it's just not appropriate and it's not who I am. I feel there are more appropriate ways to act in my energy. Okay, so back to you, if this is you. On a soul level, I know we're getting dark here. On a soul level, King of Pentacles in reverse, Queen of Wands upright. On a soul level, you're not material at all. You're fire. And you've spent many lifetimes in contemplation. On a soul level, you see yourself holding back from taking the pause and going inward in order to deal with your 8th house stuff, under the surface stuff. On a soul level, your soul feels like you've separated from them. You're not listening to them. Your soul has a bigger picture view to offer you that can be integrated into who you are, where you are, to help you navigate, to help you be divinely guided. And your soul is being very patient with you. And has to be very patient with you because you outright refuse and you won't make room for this part of you to come into the awareness. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but there is this guidance for you when it's time and when you do find your way to allowing it. Your soul is writing you a song. Your soul is writing you a song. Your soul realizes you're a little bit stuck, okay? And your soul's trying to rewrite your story with you. I don't know how it's coming out in your consciousness, but your soul's trying to trying to allure you in with like the funness or something that will kind of make you see. It's like, ooh, look at this, look at this. Wouldn't you want to indulge in this? Oh, but see why you can't? You're stuck, aren't you? Like, maybe you need to look at this thing. It's your soul's trying to lure you into some sort of growth and integration with it. Okay, these cards got pushed over to the soul level, and I would have read one as the subconscious level. So on a soul level, your soul has like this idea of like what you actually want in fulfillment, like, which is partly a family life. And your soul also would call you out on your lack of trust for it. Your soul would call you out on your lack of trust for it. You know, I gotta say, your soul had to have known that you would be this immersed in your experience in 3D. So, your soul knows that you don't trust a soul thing. Like maybe if you're watching this, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't trust this at all. That you have some other explanation for it, or you don't let it in, or you never even watch it. Like, maybe in retrospect you'd watch it or something. I'm not sure, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is more cross-watcher than actual watcher. Because it doesn't look like you want to expand your awareness, because it's not something that you feel comfortable doing, because those parts of you that have been hurt have not been tended to yet, and they're not going to be tended to if you don't let yourself be present with emotion. Because it's an emotional part of you that made those rules on how to operate. Yeah, your soul says you're not paying attention to your dreams. And look at this. Your soul, patience came out twice. Patience came out twice. In the advice and in what your soul thinks of you. Your soul thinks I need to be very patient with myself. I'm navigating a dark place. Look how dark it got in my surroundings here, right? For pick 3, I'm obviously going to need to turn a light on or something, but like, look how shrouded in darkness we are. And then there's this light, and it's trying to like, it's like still light out. You know? Your soul is thinking it would like you to take action instead of talking yourself out of some of the things that you feel urged to take action on. It would like you to take action instead of talking yourself out of it. And because you don't trust the soul or whatever, the soul's plan, or that there is a plan or whatever you don't trust is the reason that you're not asking for what you want. You're telling yourself that what you have is what you want, when actually there's more that you want, and you're not asking for it. Ask and you shall receive is one of the ways that the universe works. So because you think that you have everything you want, and you keep telling yourself that, even though it's not true, and you know that on some level, you keep telling yourself it, and so you're not going to ask for more, and you're not going to let new in, because you just don't trust it. You're keeping your world very small, okay? That's a very practical thing to do when you've been traumatized and you don't have the skills to process a certain overwhelming feeling or a confusing state when you were a child. And so you adopt this way of coping, and then you go through life, and now at some point you have to shed that way of dealing with life. But something in you said, nope, nope, nope. Not shedding this, holding steady. It's like, you're so resilient though, right? Because you've definitely had tower moments. You've definitely had a lot of things crumble. So all these things you're learning are very, very important and vital. I mean, look at all the skills that you have. Look at how wonderfully resilient and strong you are. Now let yourself be that person for the emotional part of you that is screaming and now activating energies in your body to cause pain, and your soul is being patient and holding space, and it's just a matter of you using your free will to kind of break the cycle that you've been coping in. And another thing your soul says is that you've been holding on to relationships that it's time to outgrow. Like, part of this conscious behavior that you're doing enacts people in your life to act in a certain way and hold this and allow you to continue on that way, right? Like the ones that you don't run away from are steadfast in your life and allowing you to keep up. They're enabling you. And your soul is saying, look, you know, if you watched pile 1, then you would see like that pile, was it pile 1? Yeah. That person was sad to have to leave behind some people. And maybe there's a part of you that knows, if you were to look, you know, at the bigger picture, that you would outgrow some people that you love and care for. And there may be part of you that doesn't want to have to feel that emotion either. But there are some relationships in your life that you have outgrown, or that you will outgrow when you allow this for yourself. Because what if you're the leader? What if you're the leader of the group of people that you're in, and you're staying stuck instead of showing an example of how to get out of the stuck place everybody's in? Your soul says that you are immersed in control dynamics, like you're trying to keep your world small, you're controlling as much as you can about what you allow, and you're relating in power struggles. And that's why you're hurting people, that's why you're running away, that's why you don't let people close, that's why you leverage pieces of information, emotional investment, withholding, gaslighting, all of that, okay? So your soul is recognizing that what you've taken on from a human level is heavy, dense stuff. These are patterns that have been repeating on Earth for a very long time. Your soul came in to experience them because your soul's very strong, and you've been learning that, right? You've been learning your resilience and your strength. And now at some point, you're going to bridge this gap between who you have been being and who your soul actually is. And that's going to be through the emotional body, that you're going to actually caretake and handle and reparent yourself through every emotion that is waiting for you to be present with it. That's the process. So you've built the skills, you're very strong. It's like you've been training for this, and now you're about to traverse some real heavy waters, go through the swamp, and bring the light, and find yourself really embodied in this soul level wisdom that you have, who is intellectually capable, but also passionately driven and emotionally adept. How beautiful. So beautiful, pick 2. I want to really thank you for being present and letting me have the honor of reading this energy and taking a look at what the most relevant thing is to look at with what you think of yourself on all these levels. I want to remind you that it's information to reflect on. It's a general reading, so just take what is helpful to you. And I'm going to end your reading there, and perhaps I'll see you in a future one. Bye now. Hello, pick 3. I want to let you know that these readings have been running really long. I am a little tired, and normally, you know, I think it's really respectful to not necessarily do a reading when I'm tired, but I do want to get this done. I've taken my time, and I'm kind of chill, and I'm just going to take it at a pace that's reasonable, okay? Just doing a little bit of white sage before we begin. And we're going to first look at what you think of you consciously, okay? What you think of you consciously. You think you're pretty balanced in your giving and receiving. Happy to be in service where you're able. Very innocent and pure in your love. But maybe like that's like you going through the motions. Maybe there's like a part of you that feels like it shouldn't be this hard. I shouldn't have to fight for feeling balanced or inspired, or you may think that you still have a lot to learn in the realm of love. And you may feel like you enjoy getting one up on people. If that's not the case, then you may experience that outside of yourself, where you come in contact with a lot of people where you see that they're just not pure in their intentions. Okay? So what you think about yourself. So you may see yourself as really much more pure and balanced and giving than people around you. You may see yourself as someone who's financially secure, someone who is open-hearted, hold on one moment. Okay, open-hearted, you are an adventurer willing to explore. Maybe you feel very protective of yourself or able to defend yourself. Very much a strategist. Maybe that's why you've been able to navigate with your open heart, because you know that you're going with good intentions, and you know you can handle yourself if anything goes awry. When you don't know, you're not afraid to say so. If you don't get it, you'll speak up about it. I feel confused is something that you would absolutely admit to. You think that you don't need outside influences or addictions or to get people to want something that you have in order to feel important or like you're fulfilling your role of being in service to others. So I believe that you are embodying the divine masculine energy, or you think you are, or you're consciously working on that. This is what you consciously think of yourself. You're willing to shine your light. You know that open-heartedness, and while being in the present moment, while being able to handle anything that, goes awry, is how you're able to shine your light. So maybe that money stuff, we've got financial restraint. So maybe you are focused on making money because you have experienced some restraint. Or maybe you're thinking you don't want to. And I don't think you would talk about that. So maybe part of you doesn't like that I'm even calling that out, but this is what you think of yourself. So you think that that's something that you wouldn't want to share or talk about. That's a burden you would carry silently. Any financial restraints that you were experiencing. And I feel like if someone were to try to schmooze you or try to make you feel special, that wouldn't work with you. You're looking to really be very balanced in the way that you relate. You'll really notice it if somebody's trying something funny or using a power struggle. You have very good boundaries, able to stand your ground. Yeah. It's something that you're very good at. I think you want to be generous, but maybe you've seen that some people will take advantage of that. And you're also a creative. And I think you'll do these things when you're called. When your soul is engaged through the higher divine ways. through like your intuition or through your heart. I think that's when you're willing to like engage in that creative process, which requires you to also utilize your feminine energy of being inspired. And giving gifts, I think you would do that under the circumstances of like when you were able. You know, maybe the financial restraint comes around like you restricting your ability to give. I think you're very aware of people who are like soulmates that are you feel more comfortable with or drawn to. I think that you have like rebirthed yourself. Like in order to be where you are now, you had to let go of a prior version of yourself. And that may have been like the process of building yourself up and finding about your strength and your resilience. So that's why you can stand where you are in this ability to protect yourself or be ready to act in a way that would balance out the energy if someone else was using power struggle relating. You absolutely believe in miracles. I think that you think that you're capable of going where others won't go, saying what others won't say, doing it in a balanced manner, and receiving miracles because of your open heart. You're open to that. Things that you are working on is being balanced, like actively in your consciousness awareness is that want to be balanced. You're welcoming in new experiences consciously. You are doing this with awareness. You think that any discomfort that comes to your awareness is something that you want to caretake. You are actively doing this. You're not avoiding, suppressing, or denying uncomfortable feelings. You're very, very well aware of them. You're willing to deal with them within yourself. And that's how you know that you're capable of dealing with them when they show to you through the outside reflection of somebody else. I think that when you do feel confused, you know that it's a discomfort that's there for you to work through. And I think that the discomfort around the financial restraints that you felt is also something you're actively working on. That you would caretake the parts of you, that maybe this would be something that was like brought through your family line, and you're breaking a cycle for your ancestry of like the limitations and programs that they would have lived out that would have kept them in lack or financial restraint. You know, it could have been previous situations that put you in this financial situation where you're now having to recover yourself. And that's why you kind of know that in order to build something that will last, you need to build on an even ground. And I think you're very well aware of making sure that nobody's losing out, and that you're not being a shyster or like all out for yourself with no regard for anyone else when you're building, because I think you already understood through previous experiences that that is not going to be beneficial or work out on a long-term basis. Okay. So what do you think, that's on your conscious level, in your awareness. Let's go to your subconscious. So below the level of awareness, what do you think of you? We'll say below the level of immediate awareness, because these things might be like remembrances as I say them. Maybe it's something you thought about before but hadn't like held in your conscious awareness or something like that. 3 of Wands. You act through inspiration. You receive inspiration. Yeah, you've made a safe masculine container for your feminine energy to have like its place to bloom your inspired ideas. How beautiful. And 2 of Wands. 2 of Wands, okay. You're also able to trust yourself now because you can make decisions knowing your strengths and weaknesses through the experiences you've had. They were shown to you. You're not you're not in denial or shying away of the things that you know you're good at, or the things that you're here to work on and within yourself. Oh wow, in your subconscious, this is pure heart. So you're open-hearted, and you're also pure-hearted. You're willing to be in the present moment. You are love. You are presence. You are here to be. Like, this would have been an awakening, a transformation that you went through to get to this point, because the reason that you're willing to do shadow work now in your consciousness is because you have done it for a while to get you to this point. No doubt. There is something in your subconscious that's keeping your wishes from coming true. And it's a little bit of... what is it? You're consciously acting in masculine energy, and your feminine energy might be a little bit more subconscious. Like, maybe you're not aware that those inner prompts and urges are coming through the inspiration of your intuition and your feminine energy. Maybe you are. Maybe it's split for different people. You are able to trust yourself. Like, you've proven to yourself, you've earned your own trust back if you ever lost it, because you have caretaked yourself right up to the point where you are, to open your heart again. Okay, the wish come true in reverse, I believe, let's see, is having to do with this heartbreak. So there was something that you had thought was a wish fulfillment that did not come to fruition, and that was heartbreaking for you. And this actually catalyzed you towards a lot of healing, through the experience, and a lot of getting to know yourself, and a lot of having to look at, where you were at. Like, maybe you weren't maybe that heartbreak is what actually propelled you towards the realization that you needed to open your heart and act from your heart space. That you needed to be balanced, that you needed to have a reciprocation when you invested in a relationship. That if you held back a part of yourself, that you would only attract people who also held back a part of themselves. So while it was very heartbreaking, and while what you thought you wanted didn't come to fruition, you got something even better, which was this like transformation, this compulsion towards transformation. There's catalyst rather towards transformation. You had to leave a situation. Yeah. You had to leave a situation that was heartbreaking to leave. You remain non-judgmental. Like, you don't hold judgment or grudges against whatever situation you had to leave behind, or any others, that even those that would come at you in an unfair way or a power struggle way, you can like deal with that, but then you're not like holding a grudge or a judgment. Your subconscious is pure, is clean, is already trained and understanding where you're at. Okay, I got interrupted there, but we're back. So, you have really embodied like a higher version of yourself. It'll be very interesting to see what your soul thinks of all of this. But, this is really beautiful, because it's like who you are on the outside matches who you are on the inside so far, right? And I think that you may be a singer, an artist, a musician. I think that you feel very like intuitively pressed towards that, or inspired towards that. And maybe that's part of what you haven't brought to your conscious awareness yet, is that you are a musician or an artist in that way. That there's something here that your soul is wanting to share or create through the inspiration you receive. It's a gift that you have to give the world, which is not financial. Right? We talked about maybe you would give more if you had more to give. It's like you do have something very valuable to give. And it's in the way of a song or a piece of a music or creation, something. Wow. Okay, so how you feel about beauty and how you feel about trusting your intuition is in your subconscious. Your subconscious has very high standards for yourself, in that your subconscious says, all right, maybe you follow your intuition a little bit, but let's follow it all the way. Let's let this feminine part of you have as much say as your masculine part of you. Let's come into complete balance. And let's also rescue any parts of this feminine side of us that don't recognize our own beauty. And I think you may have already done that as well, actually. If you recognize that yourself as already having dealt with those issues, yes, that's absolutely here. That you acknowledged, validated, and then leveled up on those topics. So in your subconscious, so you were carrying carrying burdens silently in your consciousness. And in your subconsciousness, the carrying burdens is in reverse. Responsibility and debt is in reverse. So it's only your mind that's worried about those things. Those burdens that you're carrying, your subconscious already knows is cleared of those things. Your mind is the only thing that's activating them. Okay, that's really important to know, right? That's part of the internal. Instead of, if you're not seeing the external struggle, that's part of the internal struggle that is happening, and it's that there's maybe some worry that has to do with like past, like a habit, and it's like, the inner part of you already knows that you're worth it, that you have good standards, that anything is possible, and that your mind is just ready to come into balance on that. And I think maybe that's something that you're working on, especially since it's something that you would feel uncomfortable about, and it's brought to your attention through that means. So things that your subconscious would want you to work on is taking action on those inspired things, moving towards victory, and using the strategy. So I think that strategy for handling yourself in certain situations has been established, but now it's time to implement strategy for the execution of inspired action towards victory. It's like, okay, out of a need to survive, thrive, and be balanced in your way of living, you devise certain strategies. And now, because your standards are higher and because your calling is higher, you're being asked to use that same ability to strategize and apply it to something that's not out of a need of your survival, but out of a need of your soul's intention, your heart's desire, your feminine want to create. That feminine needs a bit more prioritization in that way, because your strategy has been used to handle the masculine things of like protecting self, but now it needs to be used to facilitate forward motion and movement for the feminine. Okay. Did I get a What needs to be said card for this one? Yeah, the feminine. Yeah, the feminine wants a little bit more attention here. Your own inner feminine I'm talking about. It could translate to a relationship that you're in. It could. Okay. Like if you are in a relationship and you're a masculine and there's a feminine, you know, it could translate that way. You could apply it and it could be playing out in your reality to match the inner energy that you have. So apply it as it makes sense. You know, if you see that in your reality where you haven't quite come into exact balance with the feminine counterpart, then you might want to make room for that and strategize a way to help that have space to happen. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the soul level. What are you thinking on a soul level? A soul level. Knight of Swords. The Tower in reverse. And the King of Pentacles in reverse. It's kind of like this act on a soul level. Your soul's watching and thinking, okay, if you just take this action now, we've talked about it, we brought it to your attention, you know it's going to be an intuitive prompt. If you can take this action now, you'll avoid a tower and establish your financial security. Both things are riding on this taking action from a feminine. And I don't want to say that to put pressure on you. You're ready. This will happen naturally. You're already doing it. Your soul is observing it. Your soul has taken you through a little, like, intricate maze in a way. And your soul's really excited because, like, you're doing it, you know? And, all because you did all this work, all because you were willing to be honest and authentic and embody this highest version of yourself and open your heart. I mean, you already consciously know that you have what it takes to make forward movement. So all that's missing here is like the prioritizing what that feminine part of you is inspired to. Because it's not just about surviving anymore, and it's not just about, like, you don't have to even worry about that money if you don't want to. You can just go towards the action that you're going to take, and the money thing sorts itself out. It's like it's not going to stay as a program in your mind when it's proven wrong, because your subconscious energy doesn't even support the lack anymore. Okay? All right. Your soul is seeing that you haven't got the inspiration yet to act on. Your soul sees that beauty, the higher standard of beauty that you've embodied is that it comes in all shapes and sizes and colors, and that you shine in who you are, and that is beautiful. Your soul sees that that's an example that you are for others, even. You know, from a soul bigger picture view. It doesn't have to be your focus or anything. It's just kind of a side note. Your soul sees that you are completely protected from any ill will or detriment because you've done what it takes, and then you're doing what it takes. So your soul is very happy that you've raised your standards the way that you have. Yeah, your soul is celebrating. Your soul celebrates every step of the way. Like, that's what I felt when I tapped into this. It's like, yeah, we're doing it. Like, look at this. Your soul says you're distracted. Okay, I'm distracted. There may be times that when you distract yourself, that like maybe you're watching too much TV, or you're reading a book, or you're trying to help other people or whatever, and you might get that feeling like I should be doing something else, or this is just me distracting myself, being on social media, scrolling or something like that, and you get this like guilty feeling, or just a feeling that it's like there's something else I could be doing right now. That's your soul kind of like trying to let you know, like, yeah, this might be a good time to meditate or get still or go out in nature or take a shower or a bath or something. Like, be present. That presence that you have the ability to be in. Your soul recognizes that there are still some unhappy family dynamics. And that this could be some of the thing that distracts you from using your creative energy. That like, while there are struggles with the family dynamic, then it just totally takes your attention away from what you could be doing if you were not dealing with that. Which is being in that creative space of taking action with the feminine inspired whatever it is. Your soul knows that the way that you are attracting the goodness into your heart and the abundance into your life is that you are being those things. You are being abundant. You are being open-hearted. And so that's why you're protected, because what you come in contact with is now the same. So when it comes to this unhappy family, as far as like, you are attracting what you are. Perhaps it is showing you that there's a part of you that is not quite happy with the way things went in a family dynamic, and maybe there's a little bit of shadow work to do there on that aspect. Yeah, okay. So maybe the burden of this unhappy family dynamic too is like, maybe this family member requires help or whatever, and it's like really restrictive because of the way that they're doing it and the coping mechanisms they use, or the demand they put on you. You know what I mean? Sometimes people who are in lack are, and of course this has to be a reflection of the conscious energy that you have of lack. So your mind is what is actually attracting that experience, not even your soul. Like, I mean, not even your energy. Your soul is recognizing that on a subconscious level you've cleaned it up, but on a mind level where you're worried about finances, it attracts this lackful family dynamic, which causes you to be distracted from what you could be doing to create, because instead this person who is also in lack, perhaps in your family, is constantly needing your help, which is distracting you from what you could be doing. So if you can let go of that kind of mental chatter and worry about financial restraint, perhaps it can let that thing go, the family distraction as well, so that you can focus on what it is that will move you towards your victory and your financial freedom. So yeah, I see how it's been difficult in this moment, and you may not have even realized how clear and free you were from the energy of the shadow, because it feels like shadow is manifesting, but it's not. It's literally manifesting from where your actual focus is in the moment, and your focus is literally just being distracted by this. So it's really a test to your ability to stay focused in a way in the face of outside whatevers, you know what I mean? To stay on point. Like, it's a decision when you decide to let yourself focus on that, or when you decide to let yourself be with your creative prompts, that's a decision you're making. So pay attention to when you're making that decision and what makes you allow yourself to be pulled away from that, pull out of that presence. Because say someone needs help and you're present with yourself and you're not able to give it, or, it's like you'll have to put a boundary, or you'll have to let them know that this isn't something that you can assist with at this time. Like, there are ways to keep this from affecting you and distracting you. Someone who's unhappy in the family, they have the ability to help themselves too, right? Like, you're not the only thing that could possibly save them. And if they're putting it all on you, that is something that they'll need to... You wouldn't do them any favors by not putting up a boundary to that, right? Yeah, your soul is recognizing that you're not being triggered. You're literally just attracting from your focus in the moment. You're getting direct feedback of where you're letting your mind go. Your soul is recognizing that maybe you are sharing this higher consciousness, this level of awareness that you have on social media. And your soul is recognizing that there's a new project, job, home, or a win. Your soul is in full recognition of the victory that you're headed towards, which may lead to a lot of new stuff. And that could be part of what's the hesitance too, right? And your soul is saying, express yourself. So your soul is in approval of any expressions that you're doing on social media. And your soul is also reminding you wisdom over knowledge. Like, whatever somebody else is telling you, not so relevant at this time. What you've learned from your own journey is the most relevant to you at this time in your journey. You have everything that you need. You literally have it all within you. You're right on track. You know what to do. And that is what you think of you. It has been quite an honor to look at this. And I really appreciate all the work you've done. I think it's beautiful that you're here on Earth, doing your thing, having the experiences, being an example to others. I want to thank you for that. And remember, this is just information to reflect on, and it's a general reading, so only take what is relevant to you and leave the rest for someone else. I'm going to end your reading there, and perhaps I'll see you in a future one. Bye now.